Okay, everybody. So throughout the course of the semester, I'm going to be sharing with you a lot of different sort of ideas and anecdotes in this particular context, which is the web designer's most important decisions. Um, there's about 100 different decision points here that I wanted to share with you over the next 14 weeks, 14, 15 weeks, whatever it is. I lost count. This is an excellent book, by the way. I'd highly recommend it. The Web Designer's 101 Most Important Decisions, Professional Secrets for a Winning Website. I'm not going to paraphrase or summarize the individual chapters of the book. Instead, what I wanted to do was reflect on each of these decision points from my perspective, as this will I think, help you in the course. And I wholeheartedly recommend you check out the book. It is a few years old. In fact, let's just take a quick look here. Um, 2012. So it's almost a decade old. It's coming up on a decade. But what's interesting about this is that for all the books that there are about web design, if they talk about code, they're practically outdated as soon as they're printed. But the ones that talk about philosophy and tactics and strategies, they tend to last a lot longer, because while the technology changes, the tactics usually don't. So here are the first five. I'll iterate them to you right now, and then we'll take a deeper jump into it. So 1, why do you need a website? 2, do it yourself. 3, research and feedback, which is going to be a core part of this class. 4, planning for success. And 5, technology choices. So those are the first 5. Now let's break this down a little bit. So why do you need a website? Well, for you, if you look at this from your own personal perspective, you obviously need a website, not only to promote yourself and your career, but to also learn how to produce websites for other people. Okay. So I think from your perspective, and even mine, having a portfolio and a company that has a portfolio, et cetera, the answer is clear and intuitive, right? But I want you to think about this question in the context of the client relationship. A lot of clients out there say, I need a website. I need a website to do this. Having a website's the only way I'm going to be able to do something. And, I would say 90% of the time that's probably true. Most people do need a website for whatever they're trying to sell, be it a product or a service. But in some cases, they don't. In some cases, they have really unique problems that don't require a website solution. Okay. So when you're meeting with a client, you should always really ask them, like, do you need a website for this? Or, what is the particular problem that you're trying to solve? And is the solution a website? Okay. Use the right tool for the right reasons. Okay. You wouldn't let a clown fix a leak in the bathroom. You don't use a website for a print problem. Okay. I mean, you can, of course, but it's so situation specific that, you have to determine that just by virtue of having an intake session with the client. Okay. Now, what I will say is that most clients, and this is something that I'm dealing with now and that you'll have to deal with in your careers, is that instead of paying a web designer to build a fully developed, very proficient, excellent looking website that works across tablets, mobiles, OS 10, Windows, a lot of people who believe they need a website end up doing it themselves. So they use tools like Wix and Weebly and Squarespace. And in some cases, they discover WordPress, and in even greater cases, not even further extents rather, they discover Divi Builder. Okay. So one thing I want you to try to look at is, if a client needs a website, you should frame the solution as, I can build a website for you on any platform. Whatever you need to use in order to do this work on your own, per your own terms, is the optimal solution. It empowers you to edit your own website. It saves you money from working with a designer consistently. And ultimately, some of those page builders are going to provide a design that will, I won't say for the most part, but can, for the most part, um, provide a good end user experience for your clients, customers, or patrons, or whomever. Okay. Um, so think about think about that. It would behoove you to learn how to use some of the drag and drop builders, because if they're willing to pay you to build a site on there, great. Take their money, build the site, and if they don't like something you did, you can just say, "Listen, that's the extent of the potential of the software you're using. You wanted it on Wix. There you go. If you don't like it, sorry. You approved the design." So always ask people if they need a website. And if they do need a website, ask them if they're going to produce it on their own, or if they're going to maintain and manage it on their own, or if they even have the technical literacy to understand what goes into that. Ask them if they can code. Ask them if they have interest in coding. Ask them about, what the end user experience is going to be. They probably can't answer these things. And if they can't, then they probably should not be building a website on their own, and they should be paying you to do it. But in some cases, those that are building their own websites, despite having money to do so, are probably cheapskates and are otherwise known as low-hanging fruit. It's okay to work with some of them to build some tolerance and build a thick skin and working with challenging clients, but ultimately in the long run, it's not sustainable. So rule number two, or decision number two, should you build the website yourself? You know, this is always kind of interesting because, as I said, clients are really going to gravitate to building it on their own, especially if you're trying to charge them a lot of money. Okay. But more often than not, when a client tries to build the site themselves, they quickly get in over their head for a number of different reasons. Even if it's a builder that does not involve any kind of code, um, they still they don't understand the practices and principles that go into graphic design in order to make a good site, right? So what I like about this decision point is that you have an opportunity to show your clients what good professional designs look like and what homemade, low technical literacy moron clients can make. All right, and the difference is quite clear. Okay. Um, in some cases, your clients can surprise you, or your prospective clients can surprise you, but ultimately in the long run, they probably can't sustain it, because what they don't know is that websites only get more challenging. You can build a simple website, especially in WordPress and Divi, but they may not be aware of plugin incompatibilities, theme incompatibilities. They may not be aware of the American Disabilities Act. They may not be aware of optimizing your site for search engine optimization and the mobile experience, and making sure that your images are compressed so that they download quickly. And they may not be aware of what Google Lighthouse measures and everything. Okay. So do it yourself. Yeah. If you have a small scope, a small vision, but more often than not, if it's a client that has a successful website, their vision and scale is only going to grow. So the next decision point is research and feedback. Research and feedback is something that we're going to do a lot of in this class, not just with the research on your own projects, but also providing feedback in the discussion forums. I'll be recording a separate video next week on the Jefferson Hills Public Library website and all the research and feedback that we did on that. Um, the simple fact of the matter is that you don't know what you don't know, and you need to complete the research and feedback sessions to get the information that you need to build the best possible website or interface that you can. And the first thing you need to tell yourself or your clients is that I'm not designing a website for you, client. I'm designing a website for your clients, not you, but your clients, your patrons, your customers. I need to talk to them. I need to see who your competitors are. I need to understand how your clients or customers are using their websites, if at all. Okay. You need to try to find out as much as possible. As it relates back to do it yourself, most of those clients don't do competitive analysis. They don't do user profiles or demographic breakdowns. They don't really understand much about their client base other than how much money they can realistically spend. What's their threshold point for expenditures? So we're going to cover a lot of research and feedback, but generally the best way I found to do this is to send out a survey based from your client. You build a survey, your client sends it out. You don't let your client see the results. You collect them, you observe them, and then you break down the research, you analyze it, and then provide direction to your client to respond to, at which point the client will provide you with ideally sound and informed feedback, as well as their customers through the survey, and you'll know exactly what to do at that point. So, planning for success, those three things, if you can answer why you need a website, should you do it yourself, what does your research and feedback platform look like, you'll be planning for a successful website, all right? But success planning isn't just about what precedes the website, it's also about what comes after. And in this case, you need to prepare for yourself using a website backend that is going to appeal to your client. It's going to meet their functionality needs, their technology needs. It's going to enable them to jump into the backend and make their own edits. It's really going to empower them across the board, okay? Ultimately, what happens, at least in my experience, a lot of those clients feel empowered, and a very, very small minority of them end up actually learning how to use WordPress. More often than not, they come back to me to solve their problems for them, be they difficult ones or small problems. And what's great about small problems is that they're extremely manageable, especially post-launch. And you can resolve them quickly. You can bill for your time at a competitive rate, and your client feels good about not being so wrong that they look stupid. Okay, I hope that makes sense. But outside of that, you can plan for success with relation to the types of assets that you buy, domain names, .net, org, com, US, etc. The type of technology that you're using. Maybe you're using premium WordPress plugins like Divi, maybe you're not. Generally, I found that premium level plugins are going to be really great for maintaining continuity, quality continuity with your sites post-launch. If you're dependent on free plugins, freeware plugins, freemiums, they may not be as sustainable, because if the developers aren't making money off their plugins, they're going to stop supporting them. At which point, a absolutely critical plugin that was free that you're using on a client's site is no longer updated, then you're left up the river without a paddle. Okay. So the last one here, technology choices. I think this all wraps into everything that I've said here. You have to choose very carefully the technology that you're using, and you have to own the decision, and you have to deal with the decision for a long period of time. So if you've convinced a client that you're going to use WordPress and it works great for you, but they just cannot crack through it, they're going to have to live with that until they can either build up enough capital to hire another designer, or they learn how to do it themselves. Okay. In some cases, a client will say, I'm using Squarespace and that's it. Then it's up to you to decide if you want to work in those technologies and those platforms. Some clients will say, I'm using Drupal and that's it. You need to know when to walk away. Drupal is very cumbersome and difficult to learn. It's not insurmountable, but it's not as intuitive as WordPress. So I generally avoid building or editing Drupal websites. It's just not an enjoyable experience. And I primarily reject projects based on that principle alone, not how much. It could be a $20,000 project. I won't do a Drupal project. All right. But some of you may, some of you might like Drupal. I wholeheartedly encourage you and investing some time in exploring the software, but you may not like it. So you need to choose what platforms you want to work in or not. So that's the first 5 most important decision points based on my personal experiences. I hope that that was useful. I'll continue to do these every week and try to get as close to 100 as I can. Maybe you'll get 2 sets of videos, 3 sets of videos a week until I hit that 100. So let me know what you think.